Welcome to my chaotic motorhome build. So winter is coming to the Pacific Northwest, and that means that I'm going to be having to do most of the work on the interior for the next few months. And so I need to make it a priority to seal up all of the leaks on the outside of the motorhome and basically just do some external work before the nasty weather hits. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We are going to talk about the seats for a minute. But mostly we're just going to have to tick off a lot of little miscellaneous tasks. There's just so many things to do. You know, this build just keeps getting more and more in depth. And I really don't mind it. I enjoy the work. It's just that it's hard to get to. This is definitely the last priority of all the things that I have to do. So I don't get to it very often, which is why you guys aren't seeing videos very often. But yeah, let's do some work, shall we? Looking down the motorhome roofline to the back, we can see the seam here at the front. Now this right here is fiberglass SMC, sheet molded compound. This is an aluminum sheet, so that's the roof. And actually, that is also aluminum. So there is this joint here where the two aluminum sheets come together, but this joint here is sheet molded compound to aluminum. And because these two different materials have different expansion and contraction coefficients, you're going to have to join that seam with a flexible adhesive, so you can't have a nice rigid connection there. And so that's what they've done at the factory right here. They used a product similar to this one, which is called seam sealer. So simple as it seems. It's used all the time for like the insides of doors where the metal sort of crimped wrapped around one sheet like that, and then they put the seam sealer right there. So yeah, that's basically the material that we're going to have to be replacing, because after 40 years, that flexible material is not so flexible anymore and it starts to crack, and that's what we're seeing right there. Now, it cracked worse up and over, which is why somebody who previously owned this motorhome tried to reseal that seam with some silicone caulking. But that just doesn't cut it. You really need to get in there, dig out the seam sealer, and apply new seam sealer to nicely bond these two dissimilar materials. And here at the back of the motorhome, we can see that I've already done what I'm talking about. And the most useful tool for accomplishing this task was a flexible paint scraper, which I've cut a pretty sharp edge into. And I was able to really just use this to just carve away and get a nice exposed bit of that seam sealer. So I've cut away chunks of the seam sealer. You can see there's a chunk of it right there. And I've now got a nice gap ready to fill with the new seam sealer. So let's see if we can't make that happen. The problem is right here where the leg for the railing here mounts, I accidentally gouged up some of the fiberglass, some of the sheet molded compound. So I need to fill that in before I can do the seam sealer. So kind of a bummer, but let's do the fiberglass work first, and then we'll do seam sealer. And here's the special type of Bondo that I've got for working on the fiberglass on the motorhome. You cannot use regular old Bondo. You have to get stuff that's specially formulated for SMC, sheet molded compounds. And that mixture of resin and fiberglass has the release agent already baked into it, which is crazy, so that it can come off of the molds really easily. So because that release agent is already baked into the mixture, regular Bondo won't stick to the release agent. So you need to get special Bondo that will stick even with the release agent. So that's what this is. So it mixes up just like Bondo and applies just like Bondo. So basically Bondo, just, a special formulation. Since I'm doing body work anyway, I might as well get started on all this work that needs to be done here in the front right of the motorhome. So there's that little bit of damage that I caused. This piece here will go right there, so that'll all go together nicely. Back there you can see some more damage that I caused, but that's a quick and easy fix. And then up here is something that I didn't do, but I'm going to fix it today while I'm doing all the other work. So originally this light sat there, and this is an aftermarket light. And it looks kind of nice because you can see it from the side. So if you're driving, if you're in the lane next to the motorhome, you can see this light blinking. But I think that they must have hit a mailbox or something like that, and it dented in right here. So you can see all the damage that it caused. So I was able to get in there and sort of like sand it away and get it ready to go. I've also got this pry bar kind of wedged back in there to keep this part pulled forward as I apply the new bits of fiberglass sheet molded compound goop. So yeah, I think that this will be a good start. Obviously, you're going to do many coats, but this will be a good first coat. So let's get started. And so the first 2 coats are done, and this body filler is working out quite well. You won't even know that that's been repaired by the time I'm done. Up here, it's a bit more work. It's probably going to be a few more coats. I'm having to do a lot of sculptural work to continue the body line. That's going to be a bit of an art project just to get that to blend in, because that was really dented in there. These other holes are patching nicely. Down here you can see I patched some of these, just damage done by other people who have owned this motorhome in the past. I forgot to put a little of the filler there. Got to do that here in a few minutes. And down here, the holes for the awning. Now here's an interesting one. This door, which is for the compartment that has the liquid propane gas tank, you can see that this corner's been broken off, and that's because it sits indented. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can get my fingers at it. This is supposed to sit forward, and I've drilled out these rivets because I'm about to pop this door off, and the reason for that is because look at all that damage. Right, so somebody who owned this motorhome previously drove over a curb or something and really sort of did some damage. So there's going to be a lot of body filler patching to do there. And so I got to pop this door off, and I'll fix that corner while I'm at it. Up here you can see the results of my joint compound patch job. Now this stuff was really difficult to work with. Wear your gloves, definitely, if you're going to be using this. I ended up just kind of having to smear it and stuff it into that crack by hand. And you can see, I think this is a bitumen, like an asphalt type product. It doesn't feel like a silicone for sure, and it never fully hardens, you guys. See how I can squeeze it? Leave a thumb, fingernail mark on it. That's good. That's what we want. That means it'll always be soft and pliable enough to deal with the thermal expansion differences between these two materials. This is a Kinepex pliers. Might be the most useful tool I've ever bought. They're smooth jaw, so in there are no teeth on the jaws, and they have a parallel motion. So they work as pliers. They work as a crescent wrench. You do not strip out your bolts. They are so incredibly useful, and I'm going to use them right here to straighten out this hinge, just like so. So just super useful tools. They're very good for working on sheet metal. You can get a nice corner bend if you need to, or you can just straighten things out like I've done there. So it's unfortunate, but 20 years of being, with a mangled hinge and being forced into position on the motorhome has warped the panel. You can see that severe bow to it. Now I can obviously straighten it out by hand, but it just springs right back into position. So that plastic apparently has some memory, but maybe if I heat it with a heat gun, it'll have memory to its original molded shape. Not likely. Plastic has creep in it, that's what it's called, and probably 20 years of being under tension has caused that to creep into this position. So that's the position it's going to stay in, unless I put some sort of maybe an aluminum bracket hidden right along this seam inside there to keep it straight. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure something out though, because that's not going to sit right on the motorhome as it currently stands. Let's move inside the vehicle and talk about these seats for a minute. This is one of my reclining seats, and I got these for a heck of a deal. They were only $300, but they are junkyard seats, obviously, and I think they must have been sitting in the yard for quite a while. They've got some damage. Can you see that? You can see that slight ring. It's covered up right now, and also there's like splatter or mold spots where the water soaked through like a pinhole in this coating or something. So yeah, so they don't look perfect. You get what you pay for $300. Anyway, I'm trying to hide that, and you can see that this is doing a good job of hiding those blemishes. And what I've done is I've got this EIDECHE. I don't know. It's some rejuvenating cream for leather, and it's obviously colored, but it was way too dark. I would say it was closer to the color here on the sides than to the top when I first got it. So what I did is I ordered some titanium dioxide powder, and that is commonly the pigment found in white things. So from anything white that you need to dye, this is the powder that they use, and that really did lighten up the color. The problem is the lightness. It's still a little darker, but the real problem is, I don't know if this is coming through on camera, but it's kind of bluish. So there's no blue in this one. So this is the wrong color, and there's nothing I can do about that. You can't remove the bluish color from the pigment. Now, they do sell color matching stuff. There's a dedicated website to it. But for this size of a bottle of that, it would be $50, 50. So $5 plus another $5 for that titanium dioxide. I guess I wasted $10 on this little experiment, but you know, whatever. It wasn't tragic. Anyway, I used this denatured alcohol to cut that, to dilute it, and that's how I was able. The titanium dioxide powder obviously dried this out and made this into a very thick paste. So in order to thin that down, just added that denatured alcohol. But in order to clean this off of the seat here, I'm just going to use this rubbing alcohol. Just get it on the paper towel, and it wipes right up. But it feels, you know, it feels like leather before I wipe it up. So here's the problem. This motorhome has a ton of windows. It is incredibly light in there. Like there's no keeping the daylight out of this motorhome, which is nice. It makes it feel very alive and vibrant inside there. But I don't think that this window is necessary. So if you're looking down the hallway from the back here, you can see the driver's seat. You can see the rearview mirror. But keep in mind that this tire cover and the windowsill sit about 4.5 feet off the ground. So any smaller car that's like tailgating my motorhome, I can't see them anyway. And in 1978, when they designed this thing, they didn't really have the option to put like a backup camera up there or down there on the thing. So I can easily put a rear view backup camera that's always on instead of a rear view mirror. And I think that would serve me better than the window. And so I'm pretty much convinced that that window is useless. I don't think I want it there. So whether or not I keep it, it's just a matter of like how difficult it will be to remove it and install a fiberglass sheet in its place. So there's a couple of benefits to removing it. First of all, I could hang bicycles off the back here, or other sort of storage boxes. And on the inside, I would also gain some storage. Let's go look at that. So the bed. I was planning on sitting the bed right at the windowsill. And I was going to have it at that height because I wanted to be able to utilize all this space on the floor for the purpose of storage. So by having the bed be up so high, we'd be able to slide things under it. But this is a pretty narrow hallway, you know, from here to there to be able to access this whole space. Now, that's where the water tank goes. So pretty much the stained portion of the floor, that's the storage. But I can't get around that corner, so any drawer that would slide in and out of the hallway wouldn't be very accessible. So I'm not sure that that storage down on the floor would be the most useful. Also, the bed there'd be some weird storage from here up to the height of the bed. So if I sink the bed down to this height so that it sits right on top of the generator as well as the water tank and the propane tank, then I could easily, by removing this window, put storage to about, what, this height? Something like that? Because I'd still be able to sit up in bed, or anybody would be able to sit up in bed without bumping their head, and yet we could have, you know, storage that overhangs half or a third of the bed. So we would gain a whole bunch of closet space in the motorhome here in the back, and I could bring the storage cabinets all the way out to where they're flush with the window here. So that's not that thick, and yet it's pretty tall. So I think that would be the solution to all the storage that we need. Let's talk about the vinyl striping. So this stuff is 40 years old. It's as old as the motorhome. It's cracked, and it's baked on there 40 years in the sun. It's not coming off easily. Over here, all covered with tree gunk, you can see where I was experimenting with ways to remove it. Now, this is paint that's been removed. This is Imron paint. Basically I was heating it with a heat gun and then scraping it with a scraper. And you had to get the heat gun just hot enough to get the vinyl off, but not so hot that you were damaging the paint. So I'm gonna have to do some body filler sanding to patch the paint here, as well as I'm gonna have to get rid of the there's sticky stuff. The vinyl glue is still attached there. So that is just a really bad technique. From here to there, that was where I was using the heated gun with a plastic knife, and then from there to there I was using a metal, like a putty knife, and it wasn't working. But over here you can see just how beautifully I'm able to get the vinyl off the motorhome, and I was able to achieve that result with this. Now this is just a 5 amp corded drill, and that is an eraser wheel. Now literally that's an eraser. You can take this and erase the pencil off your paper if that's what you want to do with it. So let me just show you guys how this works. Just like that. And you can see the eraser wheel starts to wear away. And word of caution, don't wear past the line there. There's a washer and some other metal hardware embedded in this eraser wheel, and you don't want to be scratching up your nice paint job. So that's how you get 40-year-old vinyl off of a vehicle. Okay, so I've got like an hour to work tonight, and we're going to see how much of this stripe I can get taken off the motorhome. So this first bit of time lapse is sped up at 15 times reality, and then we jump here to 225 times reality. So check out this. You can see the difference between the full-size wheel and the wheel when I'm all finished with it. Now you don't want to get all the way to the core. There's some metal components in there that will damage your paint job. So yeah, this whole job here took me about an hour and 20 minutes, and I was done with the one side of the motorhome. You wouldn't know it by looking at that sky, but in about 2 hours, winter's going to hit like a ton of bricks here in the Northwest. So I just want to tell you guys about the last little patch that I had to do to the motorhome. This was a place where the awning was attached, and it's also kind of a difficult part of the design of the motorhome. We have 2 panels of SMC fiberglass meeting up with a single panel of aluminum, and all this, you know, I don't know, other aluminum stuff kind of coming into this moment. So normally there's this like cover plate that's missing from my motorhome. So what I did is I kind of filled in all the damage, all the screw holes. There's like 6 screw holes here, and there was some chipped off SMC. So filled all that in, and then there was a gap between the aluminum and the SMC, which I filled with the seam joint filler. So yeah. So that should do the job nicely. And I neglected to mention to you guys, but I've got this striping up here all the way down the motorhome to take care of as well. So lots and lots of work. I'm probably not going to do all of it on camera because that just slows me down a lot. But yeah, when winter hits, I'll be able to move inside the motorhome and do some of that work in there. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I made some good progress. I'm feeling pretty good about things. Obviously, there's like 6 months worth of work still to do on the motorhome, but if I can keep it up at this rate, it'll be done nicely and, you know, right on schedule. So I want to ask you guys a favor. Please, you know, share this video, you know, whatever that means. You know, send emails to people, share it on Facebook. I know that's a little awkward, but, you know, if you've got anywhere where you can legitimately tell people about this channel and this motorhome build, I would really appreciate that. It's just such a small channel. It's hard to devote energy to making the videos. I'd rather just sort of build the project. It takes twice as long to do the project and make a video about it. Without that sort of like, you know, growth, I'm really not going to be able to keep making videos. You're just going to see a, hey, here's the finished product kind of a deal, which, you know, wouldn't be the worst thing, but I think you guys would appreciate it if I brought you along for the journey. So help me out, click all the good buttons, tell somebody about this video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.